Recently, we've been working on trying to max this account for 16 Hero, a Dolo Gim, meaning I have a maxed account in the background right now that I'm working on collecting Prayer EXP. Now, regardless of what type of Ironman you are, except for maybe an Ultimate Ironman, because that's slightly different, you're going to want to collect Dragon Bones as your means of prayer training. Currently, I'm doing just that on the other account, and I had been doing Blue Dragons. Well, these days, post-sailing, actually there's another option to consider. Before sailing, it was mostly just either green dragons or blue dragons, whether you want to do that in the wilderness or perhaps the blue dragons under the Myth Guild. Those are probably the two most popular methods. But it occurred to me, as I was working on those blue dragons, it's like, hey, frost dragons exist, requiring level 87 sailing to gain access to Brimstone Island. Frost dragons are cool though because they don't just drop regular dragon bones, they have their own unique bones. On top of that, frost dragons have a bigger drop table, dropping dragon nails and dragon metal sheets as well as dragon cannonballs, all relevant things for the sailing skill. And a bunch of adamant and rune drops, much better in comparison to green dragons and blue dragons. Let's transition over to the other account and get set up at frost dragons. First and foremost, we are now using anti-fires. In fact, I have a couple of extended anti-fires sitting in the bank, so I'm going to be making use of those. And we've been in prayer gear, so our armor is mostly the same, I think. We did put our lance on crush, though, as these things are weak to crush. I guess because they're ice? Previously on Wait For It, we already did a grind here, doing well over 1000 KC to get enough metal sheets and nails to upgrade into a rosewood hull. We'll talk more about sailing upgrades when we get around to sailing, but basically we're getting a head start here. We're knocking out two birds with one stone by not only prepping for sailing, but prayer as well. And beyond that, we just got a nice little alk. I think that was Addy right there, but these frost dragons do drop rune items as well. And we also have dragon arrow tips in our inventory already. So the drops all around are going to be much better. At the cost of having to use extended anti-fires or anti-fires in general, and we're probably going to have to dip into our prayers a little bit, or our prayer potions, I should say. But that's okay. I think that's a worthy trade-off. Plus, I think these things might have a pretty good Draconic Visage drop rate, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, a lot of potential goodies. Right now, I'm still being a cheapskate and not using my super combat potions or anything like that. I may start introducing those into these KCs. I don't know. We'll see. And of course, we're logged in to 416 Hero at Barbarian Fishing right now. I'm going to make my way over to the RD rooftops shortly, but as I've said before, it's always important to just do something to work towards progress. Oh, and one more note at the Frost Dragons. Previously, I mentioned collecting Blue Dragon Hide at the Blue Dragons. Well, I guess that's another trade-off. We're not going to be getting any hide at all, but I think all the other drops outweigh the loss of Dragon Hide, Blue Dragon Hide. We just got a Dragon Cannonball drop, 16 of them in fact, and this is actually pretty rare. I believe this actually shares the same drop rate as Nails. Yep, they are both 1 in 65, so it's actually a little unfortunate because while Dragon Cannonballs are nice to have, the Dragon Nails are much, much more valuable for us anyways. And I mentioned Dragon Metal Sheets earlier. I might as well disclose the drop rates on that right now. They are actually 1 in 200 when you're off task and 1 in 55 when you are on task. Now, the first time around when I went on this grind, they didn't introduce this Slayer task mechanic yet. At least I don't think. It wasn't disclosed at the very least. So I was doing this grind under the assumption that it was 1 in 200 and it was pretty rough. The more I think about it, I don't think this was even implemented. I think this was a fact that they changed after the fact that Slayer tasks would increase drop rates. I'm not going to take the time to hunt for Frost Dragon tasks right now though, because that's just going to be more time than it's worth. Again, our main objective is Prayer EXP. Also, as I'm talking here, you might notice I'm 14 health and you're like, how am I that low? Well, I decided to cheap out on the anti-fires. I realized that I don't actually take too much damage without anti-fire potions, as long as I protect melee to protect from the chomps, and then I have the anti-dragon shield. It only does like, I don't know, like 0 to 5 damage to me on occasion. You just saw a 2 right there, so it's actually not too bad. I think if I just bring a few pieces of food, I can guarantee that I can do a full inventory. I also haven't sipped a single dose of the prayer potion. I'm just being incredibly cheap right now, I guess, but like this is just like a second account activity right now I'm doing in the background, and yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking like, I'm going to be here for thousands of KCs, and I really don't want to be burning up all my supplies like that. And time isn't really of the essence. You know what? I think I might actually have to TP out here as soon as I finish this. Come on. Come on. Okay, I won't be too greedy. I'm going to sip this prayer potion because if my prayer dropped, I would 100% plank right there. But let me collect these precious 500 water runes and let's get out of here and bank. If you're wondering how to get to Grimstone Island, well, first and foremost, you actually need 87 sailing, and you do have to sail to the island once. However, once you do that and unlock the island, there's a fairy ring code DLP, and this is very, very convenient. It puts you right into the cavern, right next to this ancient furnace, which, by the way, is like double cannonballs. So if you have the cannonball mold, the double one that is, you can actually 4x your cannonball making. But anyways, our focus here is the dragons, and once you take the fairy ring, you just run to the west and climb up. There's actually another stone ledges thing on the other side as well, and climb up on both sides, and here are the frost dragons. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I get the feeling that they have actually increased the amount of dragons here, and I think to the left over here is actually a Slayer-only region. Again, when I was first here during initial sailing release, they didn't have this. There was only like 8 dragons, 6 to 8 dragons at the most here. So there's actually more in the general area, on top of the fact that they added a Slayer only area. So honestly, that was much needed because at the time, this was like pretty much the only known place to consistently get nails and metal sheets, as well as the lava strike worms, but those things weren't nearly as good. So like the frost dragons were like the de facto place to go for like the first month, everybody knew, and this place was incredibly packed. Luckily for me though, because I put so much time and effort in the first initial weeks of sailing, I actually got to this place before most people did. So when I was here, there were very little amounts of people, and right as I finished the grind to make my rosewood hull for the Gwyneth Glide Barracuda trials, as I left, I had other clanmates start showing up here, and they were complaining about how this place was absolutely packed. So I dodged a bullet there. But yeah, that's just a little backstory of the initial sailing release. In fact, I did document the initial sailing release the first month or so, a few episodes back in the series. So if you're interested, do check that out. And checking back into 416 Hero, I said I'd be going to the RD rooftop course shortly again, but I'm still here, and that's because, let's break the fourth wall here a little bit here, actually. I'm spending the time to edit some videos right now. I have a huge backlog in clips and whatnot. In fact, I almost always do, just due to the nature of how I schedule out the videos and try to maintain consistency. I always have a huge backlog of clips and stuff I have to get through. And you know what? Barbarian fishing is a pretty good way of still skilling and doing my video editing at the same time. Another trip at the Frost Dragons, and 3KC in, we got another drop of Dragon Cannonballs, this time 13 of them. Since coming back to Frost Dragons, now that is 2 Dragon Cannonball drops, no nails or metal sheets yet. Okay, this is pretty insane. Another Dragon Cannonball drop, this time 20 of them. That might be on the high end of things. Let me check the wiki again. In fact, yep, anytime you get a Dragon Cannonball drop, it is anywhere between 12 to 20. So we got the most out of that drop. When am I going to see a Dragon Metal Sheet or even some nails? The Dragon Nails drop is pretty painful, actually, because, again, it shares the same drop rate as the Dragon Cannonballs, but you only get 5 to 15 at a time. That is very brutal. Like, anytime you hit the roll, you can get 3 times as much just based off of the RNG. Like, you know, does Jagex want to give you 5 or 15 that day? And like, that is such a huge difference. All right, sweet. We got Dragon Nails, and I guess I jinxed myself. I caught a roll of 5. You know, I was complaining about that, and it happened for us. And the other thing, so here I am. Initially, there was just one other person here with me, and now there's another person, which is perfectly fine because, as I mentioned before, they actually increased the room here and the amount of dragons. But man, this guy over here maging the dragons, for some reason, like, he kept inching closer and closer into my space over there. Like, there's like 10, 12 dragons here now, and he kept like creeping on over. Like, initially, I was where he was. But like he kept scooting over, so like I ran myself over here where there's plenty of space, as you can see. I don't understand why people do that. My clanmate in the clan chat, so like it's like that meme where the guys are like taking a piss side by side when it's like completely empty and there's like 10 urinals. Yeah, that's a very like relevant meme in this case. Like obviously it's not too big of a deal because I just ran over to the other side, but it's just like, why, you know? Okay, you can't make this up. You know, here I am in my corner, right? Dude, personal space, man. Okay, we had like 2 to 3 dragon cannonball drops to start with, but we just got back-to-back dragon nails, the 5 into the 7. Why can't it be like 15 though? Come on. I really gotta say, it's a good call switching over to the Frost Dragons. I mean, the KC per hour is a little bit slower. Despite the fact that Frost Dragon Bones are better EXP, I'm probably accumulating less Prayer EXP per hour for what it's worth, but the grind is actually a lot more exciting, not only because we're getting the sailing drops, but things in general are just more exciting to see. There's Alks, there's Dragon Arrow Tips, and whatnot, and yeah, it's just better to see. It's more useful loot. At the Blue Dragons, the most exciting drop is going to be the blue scaly dragon hide or whatever, and like that's going to be nice herblore EXP, but it's like, you know? So yeah, we're getting like runes and stuff here as well, so that's pretty cool. Also, it is much easier. All I have to use is my max cape rather than, you know, max cape, desert amulet 4, myth cape, like less stuff in my inventory. I haven't quite done the math to see how many frost dragons we're gonna need to slay, but I can imagine it's gonna be thousands upon thousands, and there is gonna be a pretty solid chance at the draconic visage. I don't know, maybe I'm coping, but it would be nice to finally get rid of this anti-dragon shield and have the much cooler looking shield. Although I will say, the odds are stacked against me. Well, not really, but basically on my normal account, I've done tons of rune dragons. And as such, on that account, I think I have like 10 draconic visage drops. Not only at rune dragons, actually, but also brutal black dragons when they were popular to do back in the day. But yeah, if you believe in that mindset, it doesn't bode well for me to get a draconic visage, but in reality, you know, we could get one on this next KC right now. And that didn't happen. We got an adamant plate body. Hey, guess what happened? You know, since he wants to be in the picture so bad, it's like, why do you only have a defense cape? Why are you wearing Dagon High? Honestly, I'm looking up this guy's stats, and it's like incredibly suspicious. It's probably like a GP making all of some sorts, but it also like just reeks of like maybe this isn't even a person. I don't know. Well, at least our Dragon Cannonball RNG is good. Another 20. Where are the dragon nails? You know, cannonballs are already kind of a scarcity thing where you're really reluctant to use them on an Ironman. I know for sailing it's slightly different, but it's especially the case when you get high tier cannonballs like dragon cannonballs. Where do you justify using them? I don't know. All it took was some complaining. Our first dragon metal sheet back. Now these are going to be important for a lot of different boat parts, but you can also break these down into more nails. This is what I did initially because all I ever wanted was the rosewood hull on my is it the skiff? I already forgot what they're officially called, but the one you use Barracuda trials for, the medium-sized boat. I was in a rush to get 99 back then, so that's what I opted for. But considering how long we're going to be here, I'm going to hold on to these dragon metal sheets for now because we could end up using those for the hull, cannons, and things of that nature. Speaking of which, in terms of cannons, I do think we have 4 cannons, or is it 2? You know, it's a little bit of a blur. I'm gonna go ahead and check that now by means of the saved bank memory plugin. How many cannon barrels do I have? I have 2 on this account. Okay. I know I pulled some on the normal account when I went for 99 on that account as well. I've been pretty lucky in that regard. But we do have 2 cannons on this account, so we could make use of the sheets if we want to make cannon barrels. Or the cannons on the ship, rather. Hopefully that was the first of many sheets to come. And another dragon cannonball drop. I haven't really been keeping track, but it's safe to say that we're getting way more cannonball drops than nails. Honestly, it's been a little while since we saw any drop, but a second dragon metal sheet. Yeah, we only have the 2 in the bank right now. Another thing to note, though, is a couple of cases earlier, we picked up some superior dragon bones, and we've gotten a couple of those by now, and I completely forgot about that. I completely forgot that frost dragons have that on the drop table. Those are obviously better bones. I mean, it's in the name, superior dragon bones. So a nice little bonus for even more blessed bone shards when it comes to chiseling. I do have to remind myself, let's not start chiseling any of these until we trade it over to 416 Hero. Because again, they are untradeable. And on this topic of untradables, being a GIM, it's sort of weird. I do understand how some stuff must remain untradeable between accounts, but if you think about it, imagine a genuine GIM team and you force feed someone all the way to the Corrupted Gauntlet and you get your hands on the first BOFA, right? That would be a very pivotal moment for any account, but it would be absolutely massive for a group Ironman team. But it would be unfortunate, and it is unfortunate, because once you corrupt that BOFA, or even if you don't corrupt the BOFA, like once you make the enhanced weapon seed into a BOFA or a Blade of Saildor, it becomes untradeable, and in a team setting, that's pretty unfortunate. That's just one example, though. I guess I'm kind of rambling here, but what else are we going to do on our skilling grind? The POH as well. It is a little weird that one person, the strategy would be to funnel all the supplies to one person to have a good POH to use. But then when they're not online, well, what do you do then? You put all that effort into getting one good POH and you can't use it unless that person is online. I do wonder if one day they could implement like a group player owned house or something like that. I don't know. At least it is usable between group Ironmen at the very least. But again, it is unfortunate because if that person's offline, what can you do, right? Took a little bit of a break, but we're back now, and finally a respectable dragon nails drop. 13 of those bad boys. And another 16 dragon cannonballs. On 416 here, we're finally leaving Otto's Grotto, and we're going to head back to the rooftops. Not before doing a birdhouse run, of course. But I spent most of today just barbarian fishing as I caught up on video editing. Now it's time to get 92 agility. We're just 160k EXP away. Should be able to get it before the end of the night tonight. But then 92 to 93 is going to be a whole different story. Plus 7 dragon nails. Don't mind if I do. Sheesh, not quite a back-to-back, but another 15 nails. We're printing them now. Completely out of prayer. 9 nails for the road, though. And another 16 cannonballs. I don't know what the odds of this happening is, but we got 3 straight apple pie drops. Of course, the bones are guaranteed, but what are the odds of 3 consecutive cases of getting the apple pie? You cannot make this up. 4 in a row. What is going on? Plus 16 dragon cannonballs. And at the Arty rooftop course, we got a little over an hour, maybe an hour and a half until we hit 92 agility. I've decided to switch out our Sunfire top and legs and our Torva helmet in favor of full Inquisitors. It's not often that I get to use the Inquisitors set, and Frost Dragons being weak to crush, as we've been pounding with our Dragon Hunter Lance this entire time, I thought this was a great opportunity to make use of the armor that we worked so hard to get. While this is going to shorten our trips because our prayer bonuses are nowhere near as high, our DPS is going to increase, I gotta imagine, so maybe we'll be getting more KC an hour. In fact, that's almost for certain, but I do wonder if it's worth it, because again, this is just a secondary activity we're doing in the background as we do agility and fletching on the other account. So I guess I'll be trying this for a couple of trips and then reassessing if I want to swap back to the prayer gear or keep this going. Oh, and a quick little update on just how many frost dragon bones we have now. When we first began the grind, we had about 1,200 or so, because on my initial grind, the 99 sailing, I did come here and I farmed about 1,200 frost dragons. So we've done another 400 or so since then. I think we've picked up like 2 dragon metal sheets, plenty of cannonballs, and a respectable amount of nails, I think. We're still early days in this grind. Our banked prayer EXP is nowhere near enough to get to 99, but I'll be sure to update you guys on the KC we have, and well, I'll be tracking the bones. That's how I'm going to keep track of the KC, and you know, just how many nails, how many sheets, how many cannonballs we're going to end up with. Man, it just seems like every time we do get the dragon nails drop, we get pretty unlucky on how many we get. Plus another 6. Better than nothing, I suppose. It's been a few trips with the full Inquisitors now, and to be honest, it's hard to say which I prefer and even which is objectively better. I don't know. It's hard to say, hard to tell, but I'm going to stick with the Inquisitors for the foreseeable future. Aside from the fact that it's actually quite difficult to get full Inquisitors on an Ironman, I gotta say it looks so good as an armor set, and I do wish it was used and more viable in a lot of places. It feels like the last couple of times I've just been autopiloting so hard I missed the actual milestone and I'm 1 lap late, but that was over 900 laps now and just 100 away from hitting the 1000s and never looking back. We're still not 92 agility yet. My efficiency has dropped off a little bit, but that's okay. We'll be 92 shortly. Agility is going to be slow, you know, regardless of how much you pay attention. It's just a slow skill. It is what it is. This is definitely one of those skills where maybe we should slap on a TV show, preferably one with like, you know, many seasons, many episodes, and perhaps get done with watching the entire show while still working on agility. I might go rewatch the Avatar: The Last Airbender series for like the 15th time, or maybe How I Met Your Mother. You know, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. Time for a birdhouse run. It's always a nice break from the active training. That is our 3rd dragon metal sheet. Those things, like I said before, are over 200. 1 in 220, I believe, when you're off task, that is. So yeah, we've been making good progress, and I think we're actually right about on rate. Let's take a quick peek at our bank here to find out how many frost dragon bones we have. 1727. Okay, that's actually less than what I thought it'd be, because I was saying earlier that we're on rate for the dragon metal sheets. I guess we're actually a little lucky. Remember, I started at roughly 1,200 dragon bones, frost dragon bones, so we've really only done about 500 and some change. Now, what about dragon metal sheets? As far as I'm aware, we've had 3 dragon metal sheets since we began the grind again, so we had 2 already sitting in the bank. Now the nails, I think I had like a whopping 2 to 4 nails left in the bank, and so we've actually gotten a fair amount of nails. Dragon cannonballs, though, it's all a blur because you also get dragon cannonballs from salvaging, which I definitely did a lot of on my way to 99, as well as the Barracuda trials. But back to the grind, the bones aren't going to collect themselves. Plus 13 dragon cannonballs. Can it please just start swaying towards giving me more nails instead? Right now, we've definitely gone way more cannonballs than nails. Midway through a lap, crossing this plank right here, we should be getting 92 agility. Wow, you know what? Is this new? Is this a RuneLight thing? This skill tab is kind of glowing as I hit that level. Anyways, 92 agility. Oh wow, this has got to be new. Now it's blinking in the tab. Interesting. Well, that's pretty cool. But that marks the halfway point to 99, obviously, and we're 1999 total, so if we can just pick up another level somewhere, we're going to be 2000 total level. It's likely going to be, well, it's going to be fishing or agility. Despite fletching being a quick skill, we're still working on the headless arrows, and we still have over 1 million of those to go through, and that just doesn't give a lot of EXP. So yeah, it's likely going to be fishing, I gotta imagine. Anyways, right now we're 50 laps shy of 1,000, and we're gonna need another 675,000 EXP to get to 93. Yeah, things are really gonna slow down from here. I mean, agility in itself is slow, but the levels are gonna come few and far between. At least we'll be spending this time collecting our prayer EXP as well. Well, I'm going to finish up this lap, and it's actually back to barbarian fishing I go. Although I spent the bulk of today doing just that and didn't do as much agility as I would like. I am kind of just tapped out for the day in terms of agility. It is pretty late into the night now, so I'm just going to wind down with some barbarian fishing. As I've touched on in the past, barbarian fishing, I spend a lot of time on mobile as well, and that means we're probably going to be 99 fishing a lot sooner than you might think. And that leads me to the next point. What else am I going to be doing on mobile? I suppose I could do already rooftop on mobile as well, but I won't be able to fletch during that. That just seems very difficult and way too intensive for doing something on mobile. And yes, I'm well aware there's people, I think, actually, are there grandmasters on mobile only? I have no idea. I know there's people capable of doing a lot of interesting things, a lot of high-level PVM on mobile, actually. But I swear, those people just have a genetic advantage of having small fingers or something. I don't know. I can't do it on mobile. But yeah, with that being said, once we're done with 99 fishing, we're probably going to do rooftops on mobile as well, but I have to continue to think, what other skills can I take advantage of on mobile? As I've said before, it's important always to be doing something. So even on recording an outro, I'm currently fletching and doing a birdhouse run. But yeah, with that being said, that's all the time I have for right now. The maxing grind will only continue, obviously, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.